You're listening to Randall's Thoughts on HBCU Pulse Radio.
Yes, so on today's Randall's Thoughts, and impromptu Randall's Thoughts, I might add, I have to give my opinion on what Shannon Sharpe said about only one HBCU player being drafted in this year's 2023 NFL Draft and his shocking disagreement with Deion Sanders. Check out what he said on Undisputed.
Who are the players that should have been drafted from the HBCUs? Okay. And what round should they have been drafted in? All right. This is not affirmative action. I'm going to disagree with Prime on this one. I believe if the guys were talented enough to get drafted, I believe they would have gotten drafted.
Okay, so bear with me because Shannon Sharpe's response was sort of convoluted, I must admit. So let's address his first point. Who do we think should have been drafted? Well, right here I have a list. Aubrey Miller, Isaiah Land, Darius Higgins, Dejon Nugget Warren, Andrew Farmer, Mark Evans, Shaq Davis. There are literally 17 HBCU prospects that were signed as undrafted free agents directly after the draft. All these 17 guys had talent enough to be drafted. And I'm not saying they should have been the number one pick, but you're telling me they could have been picked in the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th round? You're telling me that the 3 prospects that Deion Sanders referenced in his tweet, which were Aubrey Miller, Dallas Daniels, and Dejon Nugget Warren, who weren't taken, you're telling me that they're not talented enough to be drafted? So now, Shannon Sharpe, because of your inferiority complex about HBCUs, in which you're a Savannah State alumnus, you're telling me that your inferiority complex is now causing yourself to say, well, Deion Sanders didn't coach him well enough. They weren't talented enough to get drafted. Deion Sanders must have did something wrong. That is what you're saying, Shannon Sharpe. At this point, I think it's time we stop taking Shannon Sharpe's HBCU take seriously because he's not putting the homework in enough to be a true advocate of HBCUs on television. This is the man that said he went to an HBCU only because he was Prop 48, which means that he had bad grades. And if he had better grades, he would have gone to another institution. Shannon Sharpe has a clear inferiority complex about HBCUs, and he's not well versed enough to have this conversation. It makes me so upset because these are the folks that are on TV, that are on social media, that people take seriously when it comes to HBCU topics. Meanwhile, folks like me that aren't celebrities with a TV show or millions of followers on social media, or hundreds of thousands or millions of YouTube subscribers that advocate for HBCUs and speak the truth about HBCUs, good or bad, and that work to uplift HBCUs, we're not listened to, and we're even ridiculed when HBCU topics come up. Oh, you're an HBCU graduate. You don't know what you're talking about. You're biased. Why can I assure you of this much, Shannon Sharpe? As someone that watched HBCU football intently and saw the prospects that were on the draft board and saw Isaiah Bolden play and saw all of the players that were signed as undrafted free agents, I can assure you, sir, that you're wrong. You are out of your depth. You don't know what you're talking about. I think his comments say a lot about where his mindset and mentality is because he clearly has an inferiority complex when it comes to HBCUs. Just because you are a celebrity and went to an HBCU doesn't mean you're an advocate for all of us. And honestly, these celebrities that did go to HBCUs with the large platforms that they have, they need to be careful about what they say. As HBCU students, alumni, and advocates, we always have an uphill battle to fight for the sustainability and viability of our institutions when we're always under attack in the media and on social media. Every time Shannon Sharpe and other celebrities speak uninformed about HBCUs, they're helping the bad faith actors that are attacking HBCUs and saying we're inferior. So I need for Shannon Sharpe and the celebrities such as Shannon Sharpe that want to speak on HBCUs and advocate for HBCUs to do their homework because you're failing to hold it down for us. And that's just my thoughts on today.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to HBCUPulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.